That's what I was going to tell you about. I've started writing a little script, and it's just my brain, isn't it? So this is a little bit of a preview of some of these script ideas that I've been writing, because we're going to do an art review at the end. I'd promised one of those for the Journey of the Circle, but I think the journey and the interview with the developer served as an art review. But this, I've got some ideas for writing down, some quite long scripty ideas here. I'm not bothered if I read the script well or not. This isn't for my edit, this is just to let you in on the secret of what's going on behind the scenes. Firewatch. On the surface, at the start, this game presents the concept of early onset dementia, the story of our meeting, falling in love, and then eventual separation from a partner. I haven't written that bit in the script. I'll write that. Eventual. It's told to us in a series of text cards. Since we don't see, I've forgotten the name of our partner. I put Polly in the script. I don't think it was Polly. Since we don't see Polly, we don't really get any great insight into the process of dementia. This is built in as backstory for the journey we're about to embark on. I wonder if this isn't really about a man coping with his wife's dementia. Is this dementia specific, or maybe something bigger and, analogous? Is it an analogy for something bigger? The fact we're about to go into open country, like Firewatch sets you up. Look, you can see it here. Open country, up the mountain, in your little tower, open country. The fact we're about to go into the open country hints at this idea of freedom, release, and a great unexplored frontier, pure America. Our role as beer-drinking, simple-thinking male American hints at an interesting subtext. Scotty Hottie, look, Scotty Hottie, yeah, his old brain. Some things do go on in the old brain, don't they? Hey. The subtext being masculinity. Yep, masculinity. Masculine identity and the confusion and inability to understand women from a male perspective in an ever-changing world. Oh, is that what this is about? I thought it was just up a mountain, chuffing around with some Firewatch stuff. And I thought the interesting backstory about my wife's dementia was just, a sad setting, talk about mental health, that sort of thing. But maybe this is, it's a piece of art, isn't it? So we will eventually, because other people have had, I haven't looked into this, I haven't dug into these ideas. This is all unseen for me. First playthrough, first ideas dumped from my brain, and then I'm going to go and do some research and look at what other people think about it to reference my ideas with theirs. I'm going to try and find some interviews with the developers, and if I can't find enough information, I'm going to contact them to ask if I can interview them to discuss these ideas. And maybe this is not right at all. Sometimes artists go into a project with some really interesting subtext ideas they want to talk about, and they put them in there deliberately, like I said about analogy, like making analogies for things or metaphors or whatever, they use these ideas in their work, don't they? And that's how art is. But sometimes they don't know they're doing it. Maybe sometimes it's coming through subconsciously from them, or sometimes a piece of work is made in a time with a feeling. Sometimes the word zeitgeist is used. You can see an 80s film, can't you? You know what an 80s film is like. They talk about money and success and these 80s vibe things. And it might not have been that the 80s filmmaker said, today we're going to make a film about money and success. It might have just have been the culture around them was, fueling these sort of ideas and images and things, and the general culture created that idea built into the film, and so it sits of a certain time and place and speaks of a certain time and place and ideas. So you can either deliberately build these ideas in as the artist, or you can subconsciously be a transmitter for the ideas as the artist within a culture. Or maybe you don't even want these ideas in your thing at all, and they're nothing to do with your piece, and when someone like me suggests that these subtexts are present, you might say, oh no, that's just absolute rot, absolute hogwash. In fact, we were going for something completely different. You've got it wrong. And that's the case too. So art is like that. As art sits over time, as we have less ability to directly contact, interview, discuss, analyse with the artist, as the art ends up sitting on its own, and we end up with just cultural context, history, from the things we can glean, the things that we're left with, to put together meaning, we allow ourselves as community, as culture, to put our own ideas on the art more and more, to extrapolate things from the art that may not have been deliberately worked in or culturally infused, that we may, maybe the art speaks differently in a different time and place, in a different culture to a different people. So these things happen with art. So I'm not going to say my ideas are the ideas. I'm not going to say what I'm saying is the thing, but it's interesting and it's possibly different. Possibly. I mean, it might not, because like I said, I haven't done the research yet. So I don't, like, when you, in my opinion, when I'm writing a thing like this, I put all my ideas out into the thing, and then I do some research and see if they correlate. And if someone else has already said it, then I'm going to say, oh, someone else said this, so I was right. Not like they said it and I nicked it, but you know what I mean. So at the moment, I don't know who said what, and I'm just saying my bits. And they're not even my bits yet, they're not even fully formed, they're just ideas that I've started working on. So yeah, let's carry on with that. In Fallout, what? Fallout? We're not playing Fallout, we're playing Firewatch. But in Fallout, the concept of the synth came up. The idea of this synthetic human, like an artificial intelligent, like Terminator-style robot human. There was these characters in Fallout 4. And when my sister played that game, when she encountered these characters, these synthetic humans, she said to me, am I a synth? And I thought it was really funny, because I didn't have that thought when I was playing. I was always, I'm the protagonist, I'm the main one, I'm me, and, my ideas about my character in the game. I didn't think question my own existence, an existential question, am I a synth? Am I a synth? But that was what my sister questioned. I thought it was a really good, interesting question. So this was another question I had here, is my general confusion in Firewatch, my character, my ability to do my job, my radio contact with like an exterior voice, is this a representation of dementia? Is it me that's got the dementia? Is my wife in the story losing contact with me because I'm losing contact with reality? Is that possible? I think not. I think not overall. I settled on no, but it's an interesting concept to raise. The fact that all the stories set in the 70s, 80s and 90s, the backstory, the textual, I can't remember exactly which dates they were, but it was definitely set in the 80s and 90s. It gives us an age for our character and historical context. It sets tone for where we are today, like where we live, where we, us playing the game, are today. It sets a tone geographically, but more important, socially. It says, you're wherever you are, ask you this question, but wherever Henry, our character, is that was the 80s, that was the 90s, it was like this. Is it the same now? See, it sets that tone, that it opens that conversation. My character is voiced by, and I can't remember, I didn't look at the stats yet, and he does a great job inhabiting the spirit of a frustrated, grumpy, that's their word, American Henry. So I've put some notes here about the American Henry. Male, stereotypical, in a way, normal man. Women are confusing to him. His wife has lost her mind. His boss is now a god, voice, matriarch. He still feels a role to protect, to put out fires, but this time he's doing it for the mother country. Old tools, the ways are broken. Yeah, we're doing things with old tools. We're in this Firewatch cabin. It's made of wood. We've got a gas burner. We've got a log fire. We've got a compass, a radio. Radio is still modern technology, but we're playing this on a computer that can give us satellite images on my phone. So this is old tools for the generation that's playing it, isn't it? And the youth that we encounter are rude. The trail of discarded underwear and faint music in the distance is representative of the joys of hedonistic capitalism, the vigour of youth. It does feel sinister though. In modern media, horror films set up this kind of teenage titillation, only to shatter it with brutality and murder. And that's literally saying this is the comfort you're used to, the seedy edge of the border of where things get a little bit edgy, a little bit seedy, a little bit dirty, a little bit grimy, a little bit real. And on that seedy edge, in that place, that danger space where those young adolescents explore and swim, a bit like in Jaws, the young adolescents swim, don't they? And then the underwater dangers, the dangers they don't see, that they are naive to, that are out there in the world, these sinister things. That's where modern horror treads. films like Scream. I'm saying that's modern. It's not modern, is it? Films like Scream, but you know what I'm saying. From the 70s and 80s all the way through to today, horror movies use that youthful exuberance, naivety, edge to then insert the horror and shatter that, shatter your perfect hedonistic world. And it's sort of to say that, how should I put this? I might be wrong in saying this, but in horror, it's sort of to say that, you know, your perfect world, your lovely hedonism is not at all that good, and it leads to bad things, maybe. In this situation, we tread the footsteps of the murderer, creeping up on naive girls in the tone of a story that could end in, in horror. The teens even jump to this incorrect conclusion themselves. Despite our role of protector and our direct order to cut out the fireworks, we're greeted with disdain and distant ridicule. We're labelled a creep, and we're even told our dick is small, in an obvious pointer towards the shrivelling role of masculinity in society and our own feelings of impotence, out of control, unable to really do anything or be heard. I've also written about how the rope break and the compass come into it. These are, there's a lot of things that happen on day one, aren't there? But you can see where I'm going with this.